Welcome to Yankee Fairy, my kindred spirits. I have been often asked by people who watch this channel that if I would show once in a while some of the clothes that I make for myself. And I thought this would be a good one. I made this actually about 20 years ago when we first came on board Yankee. And there was a special tea being hosted by us for this wonderful organization called Integrity House. And Integrity House is an organization that it is just a beautiful idea where people come, instead of going on to parole after prison, they go into these houses that were started by a man when the city of Newark had been burned terribly because of race riots, and nobody wanted to live in the center of the city. So he was a parole officer, so he took 20 men and his wife, and they moved into one of these burned out houses. And the men all went out to work in the day, and then they came back in the evening, and they worked on the house together, and they made meals together. And when he started this business that he had, it just blossomed, and no ex-prisoners were going back to prison. It was such a success, and no one could quite understand it. They just couldn't understand what it was. Well, then people started contributing to it, and it grew and grew and grew, and now they have over 300 houses that they have with these wonderful opportunities. The men and women, there are ones for women where they can be with their little children, raising their children and together, and then for men, and the men and women both get wonderful degrees in college and beyond, into graduate school, even doctoral degrees, and they're doing all kinds of wonderful things for society. So we had a tea here and invited the people, and I made this dress to wear. So I wanted to show it to you because up close you can see lots of different things working together. First of all, this is just a simple seersucker fabric that I had. Probably I was going to make just a work jumper out of it. It was probably a remnant, and as you can see, it has a hoop in it. And a hoop is such a wonderful idea. I love it because it just makes every dress more festive, and it moves nicely, and it's not a very wide hoop, so I don't have to have special chairs or special doors to go through. It's just enough that I can still run in it, which I do a lot. Or you can pick it up above your knees and run very easily. And then these are some old buttons that I had, these little square buttons, and I use them in the front and the back. And as you can see, I lined the waistband with just hunting fluorescent fabric. And you know why they use fluorescent fabrics for hunting? Is that the deer can't see that fluorescent color. Now, I don't know who asked the deer. I don't know how they figured this out, but somehow it is a kind of camouflage just in the color. So they'll put camouflage on top of the fluorescent and so forth, and evidently they just see it as forest colors. And then I had this old dress, and I loved it. I saved it. I saved this portion of it, and this is this is just the part that I sewed on to keep it to tuck in. But these are very heavy, beautiful sparkles that are framed and almost like jewelry sewn on. They're from long, and then this is just a camisole, a red silk camisole that I always had and never wore, but it's perfect for the lining of this little tea dress. And this is a very old silk that I had. In fact, it's starting to show its wear now. So, but I pleated it to show off the stripes as they came out of the pleats. If you look here, you can see how I pleated it into a point. And you can see that it is starting to fall apart now. And then I have inside, I made out of some stiff horsehair. Maybe you can see it here better in the light, more light. I pleated this into it so that it would hold these pointed sections out beyond my shoulders. And it really works. It looks very much like a shelf coming off my shoulders. And then this collar is a beautiful damask linen. Can you see it in the light a little bit? Maybe let me take this off and show it to you in more light. See it? It shows up really well. And do you know what's important about, and then I lined it in the same bright orange. So it only shows if the motion of wearing it, just tips a little bit, or somehow the collar is lifted somehow. And I made the collar in scallops, so it has its own little personality. And then, and the story about the linen is that when we were working in Belfast, Ireland, in a linen mill there, actually I have some linen napkins that were runoffs. They were left over from an order from Buckingham Palace, which the Queen uses for luncheon. They're only about maybe 28 by 28 inches, which is a luncheon size napkin compared to what they do in formal situations where it's I think 30 to a yard. It covers, it's like putting a tablecloth on for a napkin. And so I have some beautiful linen napkins that were from the Queen. And then anyway, one night whilst we were working there, the factory was bombed. They were having all those rivalries between the different sides of the city of Belfast. And so we walked in the morning and everything was covered in dust from the ceiling being dropped down. And it was funny because the men that worked there were all just as jolly as ever. I think they seemed to be used to this. It had, unfortunately, had been going on for many years. They just sweep up and start back to work again. And these fabrics, some of these beautiful damasks, were basically samples. They were pieces about 2 feet square that they would maybe send to somebody who wanted to see different patterns in the damask weave. And they said, you can have these on the tops, that are dusty. And so we took them, and this is one that I made this collar out of. And then now, another part of the story is that these suspenders, they're really gentlemen's suspenders. As you can see, they kind of fight with everything else that's going on. They're definitely just regular men's suspenders. I can show you how they, have all this in the back too. And when we first opened our store on Madison Avenue in New York, people in the neighborhood of Madison Avenue, Upper Madison Avenue, were so excited about us coming. No one had ever been in that region except cashmere shops and very, very austere, fancy shops. And for us to come to town was really exciting for the people that worked in the shops. And so they invited us into this one and said, pick out whatever you'd like. And everything was all menswear, but I loved the suspenders. So I got a couple of pairs of suspenders, and some for some of our staff that were going to be in New York. And they were so happy for us to have them. And so I used to wear them with my corduroy skirts and things, just to hold them up, because I like having the movement of a loose waistband, but it stays up on me. So when I did this, nobody ever was working with different kinds of materials together yet. Now I see all kinds of incredible inventive things. But then it was very unusual, and it was only 20 years ago. Things move fast in fashion. And so I love just the juxtaposition of this gents, you know, clothery kind of wear, and then all these delicate fabrics, and then also this very common fabric, this cotton made for a summer dress, or you know, little play clothes, really. So that's the dress. If you like this video, please give a thumbs up, and if you'd like to share it, please share broad and wide. And if you'd like to subscribe so that you find out when we are putting one up, you'll get a little bell to ring for you. And if you'd like to go visit patreon.com, you can find Victoria MacKenzie-Childs there, and you can read about the ways, the simple, wonderful ways that you can help keep this project going. So we'd love to hear from you in that respect as well. But have a wonderful day, and we'll see you again sometime soon.